welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, as I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our community. What do they do to get started, and what are they doing to accelerate? And today I have a special guest. We're going to talk to Leslie Mensching. Leslie is the VP of HR for Transplace. She's also a certified by HRCI as a PHR. She also serves as a board member serving Assistant Center of Collin County and a whole lot more. So I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Leslie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, and I have to give a real quick shout out to a mutual friend of ours, Jamie Sun, who introduced us not too long ago. And so I believe, did you work with her before?
Yes, Jamie and I had the pleasure of working together for 5 years over at Lennox.
Oh man, she is fantastic. I got the opportunity to serve with her through the Dallas HR organization for many, many years. So wow, what a great friend we have together. Hey, before we get started, there is a whole lot that I'm looking forward to talking with you about. But the first thing I wanted to do is see if you could just kind of share just a brief highlight of who Transplace is and how you serve your customers.
Yeah, sure. So Transplace is a transportation and logistics technology and managed service company. We use our proprietary software and data insights to improve our customers' needs. We have over 1,000 different customers and over 11 billion freight under management. So when you think about what's going on in the world right now, getting goods to places is really important for people.
Oh, that's fantastic. And, you know, years ago, I got the opportunity to tour Transplace. When Adrienne Court was there, she was actually up for an HR award through Dallas HR. And so very familiar with Transplace, incredible culture. And so excited to have you on the show. Hey, so one of the things I like to do just to kind of kick off the show is I like to hear the story of our guests. And I would love for you to share the Leslie Mensching story. Like, where did you grow up and how in the world did you get into HR?
Well, that's a good question. So I was born in Lubbock, Texas. I moved around quite a bit from the age of kinder to fifth grade, went to a different school every year of my life. And I would say that's probably what has made me very extroverted and successful in this role right now, because every year I had to learn to make new friends every single year. And so now taking that skill and bringing it forward has really helped me in what I do. In the sixth grade, my parents moved to Plano, so I graduated from Plano East. I was a Golden Girl there on the drill team, so those of you who are familiar with that.
Awesome.
I then went to Southwest State, which is now Texas State in San Marcos. Went there for 3 years. Unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, so moved back home, and I took a year off. I said, okay, this is too stressful of a situation. I can't do school. I got a full-time job, and I started working at a credit union, and that was a great job. And when I was there, I thought, you know what? I really need a career. I don't just want a job, I want a career. And there was a job posting for an HR assistant, and so I interviewed, got it. And I was very privileged to work underneath a woman named Liz German. And Liz German was the one who said, Leslie, you have 3 years of college. You need to go back. And she really encouraged me. They had tuition reimbursement. And so I went through tuition reimbursement there. And she put me in charge of recruiting. So I was looking at resumes and hiring tellers and new accounts people. And I would see that, you know, submit them to the hiring manager, and the manager would say, this is great, but they don't have a degree. And so they would move on to someone else. And I thought, oh man, so that gave me my own personal goal to say, wow, this is what happens on the other side of the desk if you don't have a degree. So kept me going. I left there and went to work for Pizza Hut. So I was there and worked there in the recruiting world. I did a brief stint in payroll and benefits, decided that was not my expertise, certainly did not play to my strength. So I went back to recruiting. I went to work with Dr. Pepper after that and worked with some amazing leaders. And that's when I really got into the generalist side of the business and realized that that's really where my talents lie. So I did a rotation with compensation. worked there, and then did a change management role, helped divest Dr. Pepper from Cadbury Schweppes and became the standalone company, and then went to the business partner role once again. Left there, went to McAfee. I was there for about 18 months and supported sales organization, which was fun, and then went to Lennox. Was with Lennox for 5 years, supported the corporate organization, and then moved into a director of stores role, where I supported the retail stores leadership team, and then just recently joined Transplace.
Wow. Oh man, there is so much here. First of all, so my daughter went to school at Texas Tech. So I've been to Lubbock I've had that drive many times. Is it Liz German?
Liz German, yes.
Liz German. Okay. So Liz German, I was thinking about, as you told that story, whenever I left my freshman year of college, I quit school for personal reasons. And I remember when I went back to school, I had someone tell me, "Hey, there's an opportunity for you to get scholarship through." I had been born with a tumor, so I had a visual challenge, and I was able to get scholarship through that. And because of that, I was able to finish. And there, Liz German's, kind of telling you about, hey, there's opportunity to go back. That is so cool.
Yeah, it wasn't just her. It was all the managers that I've had. At Pizza Hut, it was Florence. At Dr. Pepper, it was Steve Coleman and Larry Solomon. It was all the people, right, that collectively came together, kept pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, Bruce, it took me 11 years.
Hey.
But you know what? Time passed. And it went on, and I'm able to check the box. So I'm here to say, anybody who's out there and still going, keep going. The light is at the end of the tunnel, and don't look back.
I love that. So for me, it took me about 10 years as well. So I went to school, and then I stopped, and then 4 years later, I went back to school. And so I can resonate and relate with the story that you're sharing. And I love the message you're sharing right now is that, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter how long it takes. If, you can do it, whatever you want to do, you can do that. And I just think it's so cool. I love how, that kind of leads me to, one of the questions I do like to ask is the question about, when was it that you found your lane, your purpose, your calling? And I love how, a lot of times we don't know until we go through that part of our life, right? So I was in operations management before I got into business development, before I found my lane where I really thrived. And so was there a moment or a time, or has it been little moments? When did you know that, HR, I knew it wanted to do it, but this happened, and now that validated that I'm absolutely in my lane?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And it's interesting because little data pieces along the way in my life as I grew up kind of led me here, but I didn't realize it at the time, right? So in school, people would, come to me with problems. I would listen. I would try to help. I would help facilitate, some things. And so it kind of started there, I think, if you will. Then in college, I was always, sort of thrust into a leadership role and same kind of thing. So looking back on it, it's really not a surprise that I ended up in HR because I like to help people. I like to think creatively. So gosh, it's hard to just point to one moment, but I'll tell you, when I was at Dr. Pepper and I was in sort of a generalist type of role, that's when I realized, okay, this is cool because it's different every day. It presents challenges. I can be as creative as I want to be. And it was fun. And so then at that moment, I was like, okay, this is it. Well, I liked recruiting and I liked all the other things. This is it. And I felt very comfortable in that role.
I love that. I'm in relocation, and I know I've shared this story many times, and that was when I first started with Armstrong Relocation. I had a friend call me and said, hey, my banker needs to move his mom, and she just needs to move a couple of boxes and like a dresser. I mean, it was very small, but it was super stressful for him. Like, it was a very difficult time. And when I was able to take that stress off of his plate, I was like, oh man, I know I'm now in a position of impact and I can really make a difference. I love that. I would love to ask if you could just expand a little bit more on, you talked about there's all these different mentors. I mean, Liz German, and mentorship is so important. So I have a couple of questions around, number one, who were, some of your mentors? I think you'd mentioned a couple. And then number two, do you mentor anybody today?
Yeah, really good question. So through my history, I've never been really a part of a mentorship program where I've been the mentee, which is really interesting, especially being within the HR field, right? But what I have done is I've taken, no matter what role I'm in, I've looked for someone who can provide me some really good advice, whether it's someone in the HR field or it's in the business. Who can I surround myself with that can help me grow and develop as a person? I've been very fortunate. So at Dr. Pepper, I mentioned Steve Coleman. He was my boss. He's the one who hired me there. And we've kept in touch, and he's amazing leader, mentor, and just a good, solid person. So he's been amazing. Larry Solomon was also the CHRO at Dr. Pepper at the time. He, again, was another great person that just led through leadership and just taught what HR should be, the right way, right? The right way to do things, just philosophically. Here's how you should treat people. And that really gave me the foundation. And then from a business perspective, really good people like Jim Trebilcock, who was the CMO at Dr. Pepper. He was amazing. And then, at Lennox, Lenisa Bannister, who is the VP of stores there, just, take the time with you and help explain the business so you can understand, so that you can take those insights into the HR world to say, hey, here's the business side, here's the HR side. How can we bring those two together to bring really, really good solutions? And it's through those partnerships that you just grow and you develop and you just create something that's just irreplaceable. So I haven't had a true mentor, but I would say I've had a lot of mentors through my career.
That's fantastic. I will tell you, I've asked this question of many leaders, and a lot of them have that similar message, and that is, a lot of times it may not be formal mentorships, but there is mentoring going on. And that's why, it's so important that as leaders, people are watching us, right? And so we have a great opportunity to model the way. And so I appreciate you sharing that. I want to talk leadership here with you, because this is an interesting time. Of course, we are taping here in November. This is going to be aired in December. And so we're still in a time of COVID. I think we haven't got through it, but we've learned how to navigate through the process, and we continue to learn how to navigate. I would love to if you could share, have you had to shift your leadership? One of the things I found interesting too is that you started at Transplace during COVID. And so I was just curious, how have you had to shift as a leader in 2020?
Yes, that's so funny. So, so when the world was coming to a complete halt with COVID, I resigned my job at Lennox and decided to go to Transplace, which has been the boldest move that I've probably ever made in my career. And, it's interesting how you find these things. And I remember, as we were going through this and I was working out, I love to spin, I love to cycle. And that morning I was working out, and I was working out at home safely, I'll say. And I was working out, and the instructor, said, hey, choose fate over fear. And I was like, how powerful is that, right? So choose fate over fear. And I thought, you know what, if this is the time to go to a new job, this is the time. It's the time for me, despite whatever else is going on in the world, right? This is it. And so I decided to leave. And it was sort of a long transition to get there, but it was good. And I've been at Transplace since May. And, the way I joined Transplace, I had a formal 90-degree plan. I had everything mapped out. And I basically threw it out the window because coming into an organization during COVID, like it wasn't going to matter, right? Like all that, because the business is crazy. People are concerned. So what I've had to do is listen more, lean in a little bit differently, build relationships. More so, now I'm a relationship person, but really lean into relationships a little bit more, and just be more patient. I've also had to show my vulnerability and to say, you know what, I'm not perfect, and I'm struggling with whatever that is as well, and just see people as they are and meet people where they are. It's interesting in your last question, Bruce, you asked me, are you mentoring people? Well, I'm informally mentoring a lot of people, and what has really come up is just the text that I send to just say, hey, how are you today? Or the letter that I write to them, just to say, hey, here's a fun little note. Just those little things reaching out to people mean the world. And I think they would have meant something before, but now it's huge. It's a huge impact now. So yeah, so I think you really have to be patient, listen, meet people where they are.
Man, I have chills. Like when you said meet people where they are, it was just like just chills came over me because I think, man, in today's times that number one, it's important to like, first of all, recognize like, hey, I need to shift, right? And when you start talking about leaning in, listening, relationships, patient vulnerability, I'm like, man, that's a total, like you were probably doing that before, but that is all of a sudden like I'm on purpose now doing this. That's great insight.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would love to just a little bit more. I would love to hear, leadership development. I think is at the top of most leaders' minds. I had a leader at one of the first company I worked at when I came to Dallas. He said, if you want to be promoted, you have to hire and train your replacement. And I was like, oh man, that means I need to I need to lead and develop. And so leadership development has been important to me for a long, long time. And so I know that when I'm talking to different leaders, whether they're serving, whatever they're serving, and you are serving the HR function, can you share a little bit about, what you're doing to develop leaders around you, and a little bit about maybe even during like COVID, what have you been doing to develop as a leader?
So I would say leadership matters now more than ever.
Yeah.
And where there is a leadership lag, you can definitely see it within the teams. So leaders really need to work on trying to improve themselves, trying to learn a little bit more. Again, lean into their team, really reach out to them. You can't treat people like objects. Jim Chibokok taught me that. And he was like, look, treat people as people, right? Treat people as they are, and they will perform for you. And he was so right? Treat people like people, and then they will take care of the business. But yeah, so leadership matters more than ever right now, especially within COVID. Within Transplace, we are doing a lot to build up our leaders. So we have some web-based training that we push out on communication, on conversations. We're just now pushing out a series called Empower Growth, which is going to be awesome because it's going to talk about how do you then take some basic fundamental leadership learnings and how do we then push them out. And the great thing is that we got that from our employee survey. So we survey our employees frequently, we listen, and then we take action. And I would say as leaders, that's what we should be doing, right? We should be listening to say, employees, what do you need from us? How can we serve you? And really have that mentality. And so we're pushing out training, we're pushing out little mini sessions, we're getting groups together to talk about, our panels to talk about, here's the things that are important. And just, have some leaders talk about the things that are important to them. So that's what we're doing from a company perspective. From my perspective, I'm reading a lot. I have a really great coach. Her name is Jennifer Thornton, and she's been helping me through this transition, and she's wonderful. And she's had some books and some things to read. So I'm reading books, I'm doing podcasts. I'm also, anything that's free, I'm getting on. So for those of you who are listening and you want something and you want to develop it, you say, you know what, my company can't afford it and I don't have time, do something that's free, do a podcast, do something. Because right now it's been amazing, Bruce. Like a lot of people are developing content and they're putting stuff out there just because they know people need it and they want it. Channel 8 even did a series like at 11:30 on a couple of different things. So you just have to be open to it and look around and it'll be there for you.
I love all that you shared there, because I think a lot of people, I've heard people in the past even say, hey, my company doesn't really do anything. What can I do to skill up? And so one of the things you're talking about here is, hey, you can do things on your own, right? I mean, the podcast for one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And a lot of companies too will have like a leadership development program where they, focus the top tier leaders. And then they may have, new manager, and it's sort of like in the middle, right? So you got to get the people in the middle too. Everybody deserves to development, right? It's not just the people coming into the workforce, and even the people at retirement, we call them the veterans, the people that have been in forever, right? Everyone can have development. You just have to take time for yourself. A lot of times when I'm in a training course, I'll tell people, I want you to be selfish, right? For the next, whatever it is, hour, half a day, day long, just be selfish because you owe it to yourself right now to get a little bit better at that one thing that you came here for. And you know what? Being selfish is okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to quote that. Being selfish is okay. I love that. I want to touch on something you said earlier as well, and I'm very intrigued by this. You mentioned that you had a coach, and her name is Jennifer. Have you always had a coach? And what are some things that she's helped you with?
Yeah, so this is my first formal coach.
Okay.
Really helped me from the transition, right? So especially during COVID, moving from a director role to a vice president role, really just think about the difference of that. And yeah, she's been amazing in helping me.
That's fantastic. I think a lot of people, have coaches, and then there's others out there that wonder, hey, do I really need a coach? And it sounds like, I've always kind of told the story about, I heard Tiger Woods say he had a coach one time. I'm like, he's the number one player in the world, and he has a coach. So coaches do make impact. So if there's an opportunity to have a coach, I think that would be good. Um, so, so you talked a little bit about, Transplace. Obviously, they believe in leadership development. It sounds like you're doing some really exciting things there. We talked a little bit about, skilling up on their own. And then, of course, you're doing a lot of reading and different things like that. So that's excellent insight as far as leadership development. I would love to kind of switch gears just a little bit. Another area that a lot of people don't think about leadership development is an area that you volunteer for, and then it's called volunteer leadership. And one of the areas I noticed on your LinkedIn, and then last time I talked to you, you mentioned this, that you also serve as a volunteer leader for the Assistance Center of Collin County. And I would just love for you to share, number one, why is volunteer leadership important for you? And then number two, I would love to hear a little bit more about Assistance Center of Collin County.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. That's so great. So yeah, so when I think about me as a whole person, right, I think about, your physical, your mental, and your spirituality, right? So from a physical standpoint, I get up and I like to spin and I like to cycle, I like to do all that. Spirituality, is church and all that stuff on the side. But from the mental, because HR takes such a drain on you in a positive way, that you have to do something that fills you up, right? And the Assistance Center of Collin County absolutely does that. So what they are is anybody who's in Collin County who needs help, we provide assistance for. And so we provide writ assistance, we provide electric assistance. We do so much more than that. So we also do Thanksgiving, we do Christmas, we do back to school, we provide workshops for people. So how do you then, if your rent is too high, how do you then, make that a little bit less still move into a place that is nice, and really give you the tools that you need. So it's not just a handout, but it's, let me help you try to succeed within within the community. I will say we are a little hidden gem. A lot of organizations will come into the Assistance Center, and we also refer out. So if we can't help, we refer out to all these different other places. The food pantries, all the way to different churches. So we offer a lot of help around. So Bruce, can I give a plug? Do you mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, good, good. So anybody who's interested in donating either now or in the future, you can go to assistancecenter.org and make a donation there. No amount is too small and no amount's too big.
Oh, no, that's fantastic. I'm glad you shared that. I think that it sounds like an incredible cause. I'm curious, how long have you been a part of the organization?
Yeah, for about 6 years, and
Okay.
it's been an amazing experience. A lot of good people, a lot of good volunteers actually run the center. We only have like 3 employees, and everybody else is a volunteer who comes in. So it's an amazing place to be.
So I'm curious, how did you find out about it? What got you started?
Yeah, so one of my colleagues at Dr. Pepper, she was an attorney. Her name is Elizabeth Ramirez Washka. And so she was participating with the Assistance Center, and she said, hey, Leslie, you would be perfect for it. Why don't you come in? Let's, come to a meeting and see what the Assistance Center is all about. And it just took me one meeting, and one time I fell in love. And I thought, this is perfect. This is amazing. This is giving back to a community where I grew up. And I'm still around in Collin County. And so why not give back?
That's fantastic. And by the way, I'm sure there's a lot of needs because Collin County is like one of the fastest growing counties in the country, with McKinney and Plano and Frisco and Allen. And so, no, that's incredible. Okay. So just so we don't miss this, Assistance Center of Collin County, share with the listeners and the viewers one more time. And this is airing, I think it's the first week of December. So, it's Christmas season. I'm sure this is like a season of it'd be awesome to have donations as well. Share again how they can donate.
Yeah, so they can go to assistancecenter.org, or they can call 972-422-1125. Again, that's 972-422-1125.
Hey, that's fantastic. I will make sure to put that in the show notes as well. So if somebody just wanted to click on that link, they could do that. And so I appreciate that. I wanted to talk about that, not only so you could share more information, but also when we were talking about leadership development. I really think that this is one of the areas that a lot of people miss, and that is volunteer leadership. And I learned this when I started volunteering for Dallas HR back many years ago. And I remember, first of all, it takes a little bit of courage to, show up and raise your hand and say, I want to help. And then next thing you know, you start meeting some incredible people. But the leadership development for me has been, I get to see what good looks like, and I get to see what not good looks like as well. Right? We talked about mentoring and modeling, different things like that. And so when you're in a volunteer environment, man, you can really see some really good opportunities to grow as well. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree. As an HR professional, I'm not very good at financial acumen. A lot of us aren't, which is amazing that I even got a job as a teller. But, I use that experience too to help get me into the numbers with the Assistance Center. So I used it as a game for me to understand, what do the numbers look like, and what is profitability, and what is all this stuff. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. So every facet that you're in, you choose to grow and you choose to learn, and, capitalize on that, right? Take advantage right then and right there.
Yeah, listen, that's good stuff right there. I when you're talking about that, I'm sitting here, it takes me back to when I was serving as a board of trustee, on the board of trustees, and our financial group would come in and talk about just fiduciary responsibility and things like that. And I'm like, this is just, it's different. And so that's fantastic, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to keep talking about leading. You lead your team, your volunteer leadership, but what I want to talk about now is I want to talk about leading yourself. And leadership, it's every day. And so I would love for you to share. What I try to do is I try to pull out what's a discipline or a practice that you have that helps you stay on track every day. So I would just love for you to share. Do you have a practice that you have every day? You get up early. What's that look like for you?
I do. So this is interesting. So back when I was at Dr. Pepper, we had someone from Franklin Covey come in, and they taught on the 7 habits. I literally have used that probably since 2002, where I prioritize every single day, and every day is different, right? And so I've got the priorities, and I focus on what do I need to do, and I write those down every day, and I check them off. So I have that. But every day I do get up early. I get up at 4:30 and I'm working out by 5. It used to be at the gym. Now it's upstairs at my home. I'm working out by 5. I'll typically then get my son up and going and then, take him to school, and then it's come back and get daughter, husband, and, do all that. And then I start work. But it is about discipline, because getting up at 4:30 every day can be exhausting. And your body has to rest. It's got to recharge. So at least mine does, so I can be my best when I'm here. But I go to bed at 9 every day. And it's funny because, we've had to be a little bit unconventional in our house. So my kids actually tuck me in. So at 9 o'clock, they do. At 9 o'clock, they're like, okay, Mom, it's 9. And if it's past like 9:15, they're like, it's 9:15, Mom, she's coming out, it's gonna be bad. But yeah, so they tuck me in. My husband comes in, he tucks me in. They know, like, house is quiet. And then, they go to bed anywhere between, I don't know, 10:30, something like that. But it works out for us, and it works out for the family. Everybody gets their needs met. I just happen to be a morning person. My husband happens to be a night person. So that's how we have figured it out that works for us. But it is a little bit unconventional. I understand.
No, hey, listen, I get that, man. Come 9 o'clock, I'm ready to I'm ready to call it a day too. And I'm a 5 a.m. guy. I'm curious though. So I remember going through Franklin Covey training. Now that you talk about that, it just kind of brought me back to my earlier years as a young manager. But one of the questions I'm asking, and man, I've gone back and forth, and I've kind of found my lane in this area. But when you plan, do you still use the written planner, or do you put it in your phone, or do you do both?
Yeah. So this is such an interesting question. So I used the planner for a long, long time. And then the iPad came out. So then I switched to iPad, and then I moved companies and they didn't support it. And I couldn't get the iPad on the system, and it was a complete wreck. So then I went back to paper, and then I've just not gone back. So yeah, no, I'm paper, and my list is sitting right here.
Yeah, it's fantastic. No, and I use today I use the Jim Rohn planner, and so I typically will plan my week, and then I'll take my top 3 and I'll put those in my phone every day. And my hope is that if I can get just those 3 things done, I call them my MVPs, my most valuable project. If I can get those 3 things done, then it is a successful day. Hopefully I get more done than that. But if I can just like you talked about, hey, I had this plan, and then woo, throw it out the window.
Yeah.
That's how it is sometimes, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Which is why I love HR so much, right? Because it's not, you can plan your day perfectly and it won't go anything like that. And you know what? That's okay. And that's what I like about it.
No, you're exactly right. As a matter of fact, I've had several guests on the phone or on the show where they've talked about, you're only a phone call or a text away, especially during COVID, of your plan just going out the window. And so you have to be flexible and adaptable. And I know you certainly are that. Let me ask you this question, and I love to ask this. Have you ever been given any advice that it was so good that you like to continue, you share that with others? You just find yourself sharing that?
Yes. Yes. So Steve Coleman said, get comfortable get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm.
And, he said it in a formative time of my career because I hadn't done employee relations. I hadn't done any of that stuff yet. And so he would, with a safety net, kind of push me in that direction and say, okay, Leslie, let's prep you. Here's what it is. And then he would kind of push me out. And I was uncomfortable, but you know what? The second time I wasn't as uncomfortable, and the next time. So you just keep pushing yourself into uncomfortable places, and then you just continue to grow there. And then each time you learn, right? I mean, we all fail, and it's okay to fail. And it's okay to take a risk, but do your due diligence, do your homework, do your facts. And if you fail, fine, right? Get back up and then press forward.
Failing to me is a love-hate thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I love to fail because I know I'm going to get better, but I hate failing. But
I do too.
You're right on. You are right on. As a matter of fact, I'm excited. Well, when this show plays, I would have already given this presentation, but I'm going to give a presentation at Dallas Baptist University called "Great Leaders Are Grateful Leaders," and I'm going to talk a lot about failing and how many times most of us are grateful for the opportunities to fail because it made us better today.
Absolutely. I cannot agree more. I'm so grateful for all the leaders that, helped me through my career because, they really helped me get to where I am now. Right. And then how do I then provide those opportunities for other people, right, to grow and to shine? Because now it's not really about me, but it's about everybody else who's coming behind now that I can lift up. And I don't think we talk enough about that, about how can we lift each other up and help each other.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I published a book a couple of years ago called Find Your Lane. And one of the things I talk about in the book is the importance of being a lifter and how we need more of that in our workplace, in our community, in our home, or just encouraging people. One of my favorite saying is John Maxwell talking about his dad always talked about, if you will just do these things, you are going to have success. And that was basically to value people and love people unconditionally. And I just think that whenever you are valuing people, like when you're encouraging people, you're basically saying, look, you have incredible value. You need to see that. And I just think we need more of that too.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Oh my gosh. So I think I mentioned to you before we started recording, the time goes super fast. And we're now to the part where I like to call it's time to accelerate. And so I'd like to just ask a few fun facts. And the first question I have for you is, I know you mentioned podcasts earlier, would you rather read a book or listen to a podcast?
Depends.
What does it depend on?
It depends on how crazy my life is at the moment. So podcasts are great, and I listen to any podcast. And so I would get on Scribd or Blinkist and just, listen. And when I would commute in, just listen to a book, and that was fantastic. And now, since I'm not really in the car so much anymore, now I'm reading more than ever.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I know I didn't ask you this before, but any good books you've read in 2020?
Man, so, well, let's see, Daring Greatly. I love the Brene Brown. All of the stuff is just amazing. And, choosing courage over comfort is now my new mantra. And as I'm talking to managers and leaders and they don't want to have a tough conversation, and I'm like, okay, you got to choose courage over comfort. Do what's right by them, right? Send them into this world with feedback, with honest conversations. So she has been the most impactful. And I do watch anything she puts out there. I do watch her podcast and whatnot. It seems like I can't get enough of her content.
No, I'm right there with you. And I know there's a lot of people that would say the same thing. Of course, she had that Netflix show. And then I got to see her at Sharm 2019 in Vegas. And she was everything I thought she'd be more. She's fantastic. Okay, so I mentioned that this is airing here in December of 2020. You got a favorite holiday?
I do. So my family and I really love Halloween. And
Halloween.
so every year we put skeletons in our yard and we have a theme. Um, and we don't tell our neighbors or friends what the theme is. They have to drive by and see it. But this year we did Beetlejuice and it was hysterical and it was great. We have so much fun with it. Our neighbors, I think, have fun with it. We have people drive by and it's really been fun because this year I've been home and my office is in the front. And so now I get to see all the cars that circle through and all the families who walk by on their walks and they look and they smile and they laugh. And so that brings me joy seeing other people have fun.
I love that. You know what I love? I love when people use the word joy.
Yeah.
Like that is so cool, which leads me to my next question. And that is, and by the way, I'm going to have to drive by that next year. That sounds so cool. Um, I'd love to know, I used to ask a question around, what's your hobby? And then a friend of mine said, hey, she liked the word energize, but I was like, oh my gosh, I love that even better. So what energizes you?
Well, anything creative. So I love to make cards and scrapbooking and crafts and wreaths and like Hobby Lobby, Joanne, Michaels are my favorite places to go. So I'll just say anything in there. And then get outside and just ride a bike. There's nothing like the freedom of getting on the bike and riding, feeling the wind, the sun, and just getting out there. It's amazing. So that's what energizes me.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. And this is the season, right? The fall for that great weather to do that. Okay. So this is my final question that I have for you. And it's like my favorite question. And that is, Leslie, 10 years older, is knocking at your door today. What is she telling you?
Oh, good question. Take time, slow down. What are you in a hurry for?
Why are you in a hurry? I love that. That's
Here's my list,
fantastic.
my laundry list of things to do.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. I love that. Oh my gosh. This has been absolutely fantastic. I'm so grateful, number one, for Jamie to introduce us. And, also Jamie was a guest on Life in the Leadership Lane podcast. And so definitely check her out. But I'm grateful that she introduced us, and I love the work you're doing as a leader serving the HR community, your company. But also love the volunteer leadership you're doing for Assistance Center of Collin County as well. And so I'm just grateful you came on and shared your perspective today. If someone wanted to learn more about you or follow you or connect with you, how is the best way to connect?
Thank you for asking. So on LinkedIn, just follow me at Leslie Mensching. That's it. It's easy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So, I'll put that link in the show notes as well. And so again, I appreciate you just sharing your wisdom, and I cannot wait to share this with everyone.
Thank you so much for asking. It was such a